Welcome, everybody, to the second second in our series of four Eden stories this season. Thanks for joining us today. I think it's going to be an inspiring meander with John. Um, More puns will be along, I'm sure, during the course of this session. My name's Chris James. I work for the Eden Rivers Trust as the Communications and Marketing Assistant on its Access to Eden project. This series of talks have been organised as part of that project, which is going to span 4 years. We're halfway through, £2.6 million project, funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund in the main. So just a few words about logistics today. You can relax. You won't be on screen as an attendee in this webinar, so your microphones and cameras won't be enabled. We'll be recording the talk today and sending links out to everyone that's registered for today's talk. If you're here or if you're not here, you'll get a link so that you can watch it at your leisure or share it for us. That would be grand. And we'll also send you links to subsequent two talks coming up in this series. If you'd like to attend those or watch the recordings, you'll get links to both. So your choice. We invite questions during the talk that John's going to give us today. So you've got a Q&A button somewhere on your screen. If you use that and type your questions in as we go through the talk, we'll try and get them addressed and answered at the end of John's talk today. Any that we struggle with, I'm sure we won't, we'll answer and add to the video when we edit that and put that up online. So please do ask questions. There's a CC option for closed captions too. If you want to enable that, you can do so if that helps you during the course of this talk. So I'm just going to take a few minutes at the outset to talk a little bit about the Access to Eden project and what it's trying to achieve. This talk is part of that project. We'll go on to John's talk and the main event and brief Q&A following that, and we'll wrap things up well before 4 o'clock today, I should think. So the Access to Eden project is what I work on here. It's a big project for the Eden Rivers Trust. We're at the halfway point now. It's a 4-year partnership project, spans the entire Eden Rivers catchment, and as I said, funded by National Lottery Heritage Fund. It's being led by Eden Rivers Trust in partnership with local organisations and larger partners. So the Cumbria Wildlife Trust, North Pennines, National Landscapes, Yorkshire Dales National Park Authority, and lots more across the region. So quite a major project here. The subtitle for the project, Breaking Barriers and Building Bridges, sums up what it's aiming to do. We're really about providing opportunities and training to get more people into the Eden catchment and enjoying this special part of the world. So that will be training for volunteers, survey skills, water safety training, plant ID, and just giving people the confidence to get out and explore. The information about walks, things they can be doing, a little bit about the flora and fauna in the environment, and just a little bit of scene setting for the Eden catchment for people. Predominantly, we've got the doorstep sites, 8 areas within the catchment where we're really concentrating our efforts to increase accessibility, diversity of wildlife, plants, and opportunities for volunteers at all of these 8 sites. So we've got a couple in Carlisle city centre. We've got Engine Lonning and Petrel Vale. The Engine Lonning site is well underway. There's an accessible path going in there. There's some amazing work going on with some sculptures and interpretation going on at Engine Lonning. So that's all in progress at the moment. So that's quite exciting for the residents there. So there's going to be some habitat improvement, a little bit of rewiggling and remeandering work going on as part of this project in some of those doorstep sites. And some wider catchment work going on, which falls under the connecting programs there on the slide. One of the big things we'll be working on is trying to arrest the spread of invasive species The common culprit, the Himalayan balsam, for instance, we have a big campaign each summer now as part of this project to try and arrest the spread of this from the source of the rivers to their ends, because the rivers provide a very useful means of transport for the seeds for these kind of invasives. So that makes sense to be starting at the top. So that's the project, 2 years to go. So lots more happening there. You'll find out more on our website about the whole Access to Eden project. And hopefully you've seen some of our work around the catchment if you live locally. Otherwise, do have a read, because there's lots of events and activities going on that you might want to join in with. So before I hand over to John, do remember to type questions in as we go. If you've got anything that's not answered that you'd like to know the answer to, using your Q&A button, and we'll pose them to John. And I'll hand over to get on to the interesting part and ask you to take over, John, please.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Chris, for the invite, and welcome to our second webinar on from Eden Rivers Trust. Today, we're talking about remeandering and rewiggling, as some people call the process within our catchment area. This is something we've been doing for some considerable time, and it's something we do extremely well. But before I get into the nuts and bolts of remeandering and rewiggling, I want to give you some base facts and figures, and just where the baseline is for the River Eden and her catchment. The main river in the catchment is, of course, the River Eden. Its source is hidden away 670 metres above sea level in the moorlands above Mallerstan Valley, between Wildboar Fell to the west and the Blackfell Moss to the east. Here, two streams, Red Gill and Little Grain, filter from the upland peat of Hugh Seat and joins forces to form Hellgill Beck. Hellgill Force can be found within Hellgill Beck as an impressive waterfall, and it's very near the start of the River Eden and is well worth the walk to have a look at. The River Eden is an entirely Cumbrian river, and it is one of the few large rivers in England that flows northwards, and it makes its way across eastern Cumbria, with the hills of the North Pennines to the east and the fells of the Lake District to the west. Heading to Carlisle, on its way, it has three main tributaries that joins it, and which ends up creating the Great Eden that flows through Carlisle. The tributaries are the River Eamont, a major tributary which joins the Eden near Penrith, drawing water from the Ullswater and Eastern Lake District. The Lowther also forms part of the tributary of the Eamont, joining it near Eamont Bridge. A further one of other tributaries is the River Petrel. It flows to the west of Penrith, travelling north to join the Eden at Carlisle. Finally, the River Irthing, a significant tributary feeding the lower Eden, primarily affecting the north of Brampton. These main rivers are also fed by becks and gills. Most of the rivers and meet with the Eden around Carlisle. The main river then flows on to the Great Solway Firth estuary before it reaches the Irish Sea. The Eden has by then travelled 145 kilometres from its source. At its source, it is about a metre wide and 10 centimetres deep. At the Solway estuary, It has become a tidal force and is approximately 470 metres wide and 30 metres deep at high tides. The Eden is truly a powerhouse of nature and a powerhouse of the Eden catchment. With an average flow rate of approximately 51.82 cubic metres per second at Sheepmount, Carlisle, which has risen during Storm Desmond to a maximum recorded flow of 1,700 cubic metres per second. That was recorded in December 2015. The River Eden catchment covers an area of around 2,400 square kilometres, combined with the catchment receiving some of the highest rainfalls totals in England. The River Eden is considered as a flashy river, meaning it responds rapidly to rainfall, resulting in high peak flood risks. With these types of rivers, the river must be allowed to rejoin the floodplain to slow its flow. By 2050, it is predicted, due to climate change, that rainfall pattern will change and the projected changes will be up to 47% drier summers and 35% wetter winters. So we've a lot to look out for before 2050. By retaining the rainfall in the soil and allowing the rivers to remeander and reconnect to its riparian valley system, pastures and cropping will have the ability to tolerate drought conditions, which is predicted as us having drier summers. This will help to prevent crop burn-up. And likewise, during winter, the landscape will retain the rainfall and top cut the peak flow, preventing downstream flooding. The gills are deep, narrow, rocky ravines or small streams, and they are frequently found in the Lake District. They are the headwaters of the riparian system that runs through Cumbria and the mountainous stretches. The Eden catchment, slide, right? Yep. The Eden catchment riparian landscape we enjoy and live in today is a far cry from when the first hunter-gatherers started to settle along the main river valley basin. The river system then was connected to the riparian valley, allowing flows to drift and wander through the landscape of wet woodlands, marsh, bog, and expansive wetlands. There were no roads, no bridges, only tracks and fords, very shallow fords. That was before the Romans arrived. The Cumbrian landscape was a sparsely populated, rugged terrain featuring scattered rural settlements. The economy was primarily agriculture and usually centred around coastal plains and river valleys, with upland areas serving as fells. Native Britons lived in small, often circular farmsteads with very little river damming interventions or remodeling of river channels. It was with the arrival of the Romans in 6980 AD that heavily influenced the River Eden, known as Itona, by establishing it as a key military frontier, by building forts and constructing infrastructure in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. The key impacts included establishing a fort in Carlisle, constructing bridges for transport, and establishing a small river port for supplying the frontiers. This all had an effect on the river systems. When you take into example the consideration that there was a 1,000-strong unit of cavalry soldiers billeted at Stanwix Fort, a force of 1,000 cavalry horses, officers, supporting staff, and auxiliary staff, all requiring water for bathing, drinking, and watering horses. Our Eden River's demise had started. When the Romans retreated back to Rome in 409, 410 AD, the previous 3 centuries had changed the Cumbrian landscape beyond recognition and had started mankind to tinker with the rivers. It was then we had the arrival within the Eden Valley of the Vikings. That was in the 9th and 10th centuries, with many of these settlers coming from existing Norse communities in Ireland, the Hebrides, and directly from Norway. The Vikings used the rivers in a very different way. They used it as their highways, adding to the demise of our Cumbrian rivers. The Viking longships were well suited to sail up the River Eden, their shallow draft vessels often requiring little more than a metre of water. They were specially designed to navigate both open sea and shallow inland rivers to attack, trade, and settle. Vikings frequently used this capability to navigate major British rivers, included in the Cumbria and the north. The Vikings influenced the fell sides and the Cumbria county as part of their language. When you consider Langwathby actually means long ford village, it was showing that they had that impact on the river, not just walking through the landscape, but they were using the river. And Appleby soon became a major town on the Eden, and these were all opened up through to our river systems, and the Norsemen still had that impact on the river. They even brought along the great Herdwick sheep that is now a familiar sign of Cumbria. For thousands of years, people have altered the water environment in Cumbria. They have harnessed water to power mills, mines, and towns like Carlisle. They have drained land to improve farmland and funneled water to the south to supply cities like Manchester. But as well as being an essential part of life, water can be devastating in times of flooding. Building flood defences and clearing river channels has long been part of the life around Carlisle and the demise of some of the flooding caused there. Land drainage is a significant cause of flooding, whether it is commercial forestry or agricultural land. The connection between deforestation and flooding is well recognised, providing ample reason for more woodland in the uplands. Cumbria mining history spans from Roman times to the 20th century, focusing on coal, metallic ores such as lead and copper, and throughout the district fells. The mines often cause poisonous pollution to the river, which has another impact, an unseen impact to our rivers, unless you're some of the invertebrates trying to live there. We will now go on to a small video of a site at Battersdale, up near Helvellyn, where we did a reconnection of a river to a floodplain. This work started in 2021. It was a partnership project with the EA and the landowners. This was a channelized river that ran down the side of a field at Grisdale. It was channelized because the waters were used from mining process. We are showing how we've allowed the river to be reclaimed and allowed it to reconnect with its valley system. As we pan out on this slide here, you can see the extent of the work that we have done. When you consider this work was done under COVID, then it's quite remarkable that we managed to achieve so much. The river has moved from the right-hand side of the screen to the left-hand side of the screen, showing the re-meandering through the marshlands, etc. And it then rejoins the main tributary there. Throughout this work, we need our volunteers, and this is a picture slide that has been put up about restoring Grisdale Beck. You take photographs through the little square, and it's time-lapsed, so it really gives you an idea of what is happening when we're not there looking over the fence. These photographs come from the people doing the coast-to-coast walk, and they really enjoy engaging with us. So it's part of that involuntary side of the project. As you can see, it's typical Cumbrian weather. We can have 4 seasons in 1 hour, and it's really nice for us to be able to achieve this. This project was in 2 stages, and we started the second stage in 2024. It was a slightly different methodology that we used. We had some tweaking to do to the work originally done on 2021, but we took the bold decision to do a stage 0 restoration in the top field. And this brings little intervention from hard diggers, etc. It allows the river to connect naturally to the landscape. As you can see, it is winding its way through the top field, ready to join in to the intersections that we've had before. Our volunteers are there, and we set baselines, and these volunteers are being trained to check that the works that we have done and are improving the habitat. This is an ongoing process, and it offers opportunities to any of you who are listening to join up and volunteer with us. So I must thank you for listening to the small video. And I'm sure you're sitting there saying, I thought this was about re-meandering, not about telling us about the history of Cumbria. But I thought you have to set the baseline, and you've got to see what has gone before. So what is re-meandering our rivers? Re-meandering or re-wiggling is a river restoration technique that involves reintroduction of natural process, winding curves back into the river and streams that were historically straightened, that we've mentioned, channelized or even deepened for agricultural development or even flood control. We often thought by digging a channel deeper, we could avert flooding. That doesn't work, particularly when you have the onset of climate change. By restoring a river back to its natural sinuous path, these projects aim to slow the flow of water, reduce downstream flooding, enhance biodiversity, and improve water quality. Our rivers are part of our human culture. Thousands of years ago, early humans settled by lowland rivers and later used them for transportation from one settlement to another and for the powers to drive their flour mills, cotton mills, and other machinery. Human impact on rivers is profound, characterized by extensive industrial modification, agricultural pollution, and urbanization, leaving no English river in good overall health. Centuries of straightening, dredging, damming, and nutrient runoff has disrupted habitats and biodiversity. Through ongoing restoration projects such as we are about to describe and strict water management, we aim to mitigate this damage. The benefits of re-meandering. One of them is flood risk. By creating a longer meandering path rather than a straight, fast-flowing channel, which speeds the water up, the water speed is reduced, which helps to delay and decrease flood peak flows downstream. Of course, it improves the biodiversity because the restoration of the curves and the pools create riffles and habitat and gravel beds and slower edges that support water voles and aquatic life and land species, including fish, insects, and birds. It naturally also improves water quality. Natural banks and floodplains act as filters, reducing sediment runoff and lowering nutrient pollution through natural processes. Reconnection to floodplains. Remeandering rivers are often reconnected to their surrounding land, allowing them to overflow safely during high water, which recharges groundwater and creates wetlands. New channel creation. This comes back to the design process. It designs new curves, allows sinuous channels, and sometimes we actually use the old paleo channel or the old LIDAR channels, as we call them. Old meanders, by reopening natural bends that were previous cut-offs and filled off, this allows us to connect the river in a more sympathetic way to the landscape. Slide 7 is examples of work that we have done. These examples are on our website and can actually be looked at in more depth. I've done a brief resume of this for today, and the example we have in front of us just now is one of our first programs that we run. It's at Thrimbury Grange. It's the Thrimbury River Restoration. This was a project that cut a new kilometre meander into the riverbed. It increased the river length by 33% and protected nearby infrastructure. And if you think about that and think about what I've said previously about the flow rates of the River Eden, that is knocking 33% off the figures that I gave earlier, which is a considerable point to consider when you are managing or trying to mitigate flooding. The project was jointly funded by the EA and also private funding from Network Rail. It actually protected the homestead and stopped the farmhouse flooding, and it has also secured and prevented erosion from the mainline infrastructure, and that is the West Coast mainline, London to Glasgow, a mainline structure. Very successful project, and it is actually mentioned as one of the UK examples of river restoration. Well worth a look on the website. Slide 8 is our Bowber Head farm project. This was a rather special project. Many partners involved in this: the EA, Natural England, North Yorks Moor Landscape Project, and Cumbria Wildlife Trust. This is a nature reserve. It belongs to Cumbrian Wildlife Trust Nature, and it is a triple SI. We had to get special consent to work on this particular project as we were cutting the re-meander through a wildflower meadow, or round the edge of the wildflower meadow, basically where the river had once flowed before. As you can see, the before picture on the left, the green one, you can see almost the track of the river. It follows the hedge line. And on the after, which was taken on an autumn morning, it's quite a nice picture of that, and it actually shows the Ree Meander, which goes through the wildflower meadow. Not only have we reinstated the wildflower meadow using various techniques, but we have replanted the edge of the banks with willow, and it has actually enhanced the site there. Natural England were delighted with the effects, as were our friends and colleagues at Cumbria Wildlife Trust. In that particular case at Bower Head, we managed to create 3/4 of a hectare of functional wetland habitat, which is growing into quite a resilient, functioning biodiverse unit that is encouraging numerous wetland birds and riparian creatures. It also added a kilometre of remeandered river, which has actually increased the capacity of that functioning river by 66% throughout the project area, the project line. Our final slide is the Bessie Gill. The highlights for this is it was a kilometre river restoration in one of our first UK Stage 0 restorations. It created 23 hectares of floodplain habitat, improved and reconnected, and created 1.6 hectares of ponds through NFM feature creations. Usually when we restore rivers, we re-wiggle and straighten channels by adding meanders. In a Stage 0 restoration, such as this, we fill in the existing river channel where in this particular case entered a culvert under the M6 and created a new channel to allow the river to spill out into the natural floodplain. This has allowed the river to behave as it would have done before human interference, creating multiple channels, pools, and riffles. And that is all I have for today's talk. I hope you've enjoyed it. I am prepared to answer questions, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thanks, John. That's grand. Only a few questions, and I think we're going to have an early finish, so that's good for everyone. We're wondering who instigates this remeandering work and who decides where it happens in the catchment. Is it something landowners approach us about, or do we find potential sites and approach landowners?
One thing we can't do with this, we cannot operate. We own no land, so we cannot operate without landowners' permissions, etc. And the landowners own the riparian riverway. So we need to engage with the landowners. Who instigates it? It may be the landowner themselves, because there's a lot of new schemes, government schemes out there that are paying to have this remeandering work done, creation of wetlands and reconnecting of rivers to floodplains. There are a few there. There is also a list from the EA of desirables, but from government agencies, it's getting ever more difficult for them to fund such events. There are companies, private companies that we work with. We are in the process of working up another programme of works near Carlisle with Network Rail, who is going to do a remeandering of the Petrel Vale, and we are going to reinstate the river bank there to protect the railway. It's a partnership. We need partners to deliver this, and that's basically how we do that.
Thanks, John. Well, that's it for questions. We're a bit short on questions today, so we'll assume you answered everything in your talk. That's what we'll do. Well, thanks for joining today. I will make this recording available early next week. So you'll all get a copy of that. And I'll be sending a link to attend the third of our webinars, which I think is on Wednesday, 6th of May. That's Resilient Rivers. That's John. We'll be talking about the difference our work makes to the quality of our water, where we should focus our efforts in the future to provide better habitats. I think that's better habitats for riparian species and the wider native flora and fauna, how we can let them thrive in the Eden catchment. And this goes for other catchments too. So that will be interesting. And just finally to say thanks for joining us. Thank you, John, for that talk. And we hope to see you at our next webinar. So we'll end it early. Thanks for your time.